the latest edition of MiHCM Leadership Lens. Today, we talk to the head of MiHCM Consulting for South Asia, Vindya Cumaratunga. Vindya has over 3 decades of experience in HR, and she has worked at top corporates in Sri Lanka during her stellar career. Today, she joins us to unpack the future of HR transformation. Thank you for joining us, Vindya. Let's jump right in. So, we recently launched MiHCM Consulting. What prompted that decision and what can we expect from this consulting arm?
Thanks, Marianne, for inviting me for this discussion. So for me, if you ask me in one word, it's the opportunity, right?
Okay.
The demand for strategic HR decision support is skyrocketing. The companies are investing on technology, they work on software implementations, but the real question is, do they see the value, the strategic value in these technological advancements, right? The gap really is not the technology or the software systems. The gap is the alignment between people strategy, process design, and most importantly, the digital capability. So that was one big reason that we see, especially this part of the world. I mean, if you take the Western world, especially comes from the technology companies and some of the multinationals, this journey has already started, right? Ours is a couple of decades back, the company started automating their systems, but have you really optimized is the question that is before us.
Right.
So we saw this as an opportunity and we thought this is the right time because we're backed by one of the best products in the market, right? MiHCM HR system. So we thought this is the best time that we kick off our consulting practice and then sort of take it forward.
Right. Okay, so this consulting practice goes hand in hand with HR tech. What are we offering really beyond the obvious that it does go hand in hand with HR tech? How is it different from traditional HR consulting?
That's a great question. Marianne, the traditional HR consulting often stops at recommendations,
Right.
but we really go beyond that. We combine the people strategy, process design, and technology architecture into an integrated model. So with our strong technology backing, our consulting practice focus on data-driven and more execution-focused
Right.
areas. In simple terms, we are not just a simple, we are not there to just advise simply. We want to take the entire transformation journey, right? We help them design, implement, and deliver measurable transformation.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So basically, you implemented our system before in one of the corporates you worked at. So you have extensive experience in guiding that along with your HR experience, which is great. So you bring all of that to the table.
Precisely. Yes. Our system as well as many other systems have been part of the teams.
Wendy, how does MiHCM Consulting elevate HR to the board level?
I think that's a very, I feel it's a timely question. When HR focus on administrative task, it becomes very operational.
Right.
But the expectation from the board is different. They expect HR bring analytics, help them with data-driven decision making, and focus on people growth and support the business growth as well.
Right.
So when HR teams are too busy with operational work, then what happens is those strategic pieces that business expect, you are not able to really deliver.
Right.
So with the practice, we're trying to build that strategic HR, and so that the whole mindset of the leadership shift to a different area, because now that HR is ready to support in terms of what business exactly want, in terms of supporting their revenue growth, making sure that people are aligned for the business strategy. So that's where our consulting practice work with HR teams and making sure that they deliver strategic business partnering. That's a very strong term. HR, the modern HR should work like that, not as back-end, the operational type of HR.
Absolutely. Vindya, from what you're saying and from what you're seeing, HR is clearly changing. It's more about strategy, more about having a say in board decisions and so on, right? What are the most common challenges that HR is facing today in modernizing itself?
Right. So, Marianne, there are a lot of things, right, that we can really talk about. People can say, it's like the, resistance to change, a few things like that. But for me, I feel it's the complacency.
Right.
Because, we're in our comfort zone. They see you talk about it, but he doesn't want to do anything.
Okay.
And then the next level talk about, there's technology upgrades, we want to just, be on par with everyone else, right? We want to just stay ahead the game, right? But then you take a step back, or you have a very comfortable, journey. It's your comfort zone, right? So they take a step back. They don't really pay enough attention to what they have been doing their business all this time, right? So for me, just because you have been progressing 20 years, right? That doesn't mean that that knowledge, that practice, that process relevant to the next 20 years.
Right.
So that the you need to change. Yes, there should be a shift in mindset, and you should be ready to change. But if you treat your environment as your comfort zone and you become complacent, that's a huge challenge.
Right.
That's not just at the bottom level. So even from the top level, that kind of things have been well for us. Why are we changing? That's the question always. So I think we need to take a step back, analyze the situation, and make sure that you're ready to take the next leap.
In taking this leap, Vindya, how do MiHCM's products like Enterprise, Syntra, MiHCM, how do they support this transformation?
Right. So the enterprise is our main platform. So the others that you just mentioned, MiHCM, Syntra, and I must talk about SmartAssist as well.
Yes.
So those are AI products. So this is one reason I proudly I mentioned that before as well. I am proud about the consulting practice because we are backed by one of the best systems.
Absolutely.
That gives that support, unlike with any other product. So the SmartAssist is the product that we use that support HR administration.
Yes.
So HR takes a lot of time in all transactional work, right? Drafting letters and drafting contracts and a lot of JDs, various transactional work. So SmartAssist helped the people in HR teams, HR administration team, to do that in few seconds with one
Just
or
a
two prompts.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So that's like a big advantage because then HR will have enough time to do more strategic work. That's right. On the other hand, if I'm to talk about MiHCM and Syntra, MiHCM is the total employee experience, right? I think that's one of the best products I'm seeing in the market out there today. Because see what happens is when I'm sure all of us are experiencing, you send a mail to HR, you go to reach HR, just send talk to a help desk, but all these things take time. You create tickets, even to get sometimes small information, right? Be it any employee data, it takes time. Sometimes, they just validate with different other people. Sometimes HR will have to go through policies and, get the information out. It takes time. But with MiHCM, what happens is the employees can just do one or two prompts and then they can get whatever the information they want, be it a policy, be it anything for that matter, right? So that's a big plus that, we have. The other thing is Syntra. Syntra is going to go to every single boardroom. right? Because that helps the C-level, the leadership, the board. The moment in a board meeting, right, if they want to really discuss about a certain employee, about a certain decision as a board they want to make, right, maybe it's the next board member that they want to appoint. It could be next leadership member they want to appoint. So the Syntra is able to give lot of information, right, again with one or two prompts, right? If the board level wants to understand, oh, who are my top top performers, right? Do we have succession planning for our leadership roles? You click one button and you just give one prompt. It just comes to your laptop, So that is the level that we're operating. So it really save your time, save your energy, and most importantly, it gives you information as you want.
Right. Thank you, Vindya. So we are talking about people, right, from across every level of the organization, right up to the board and company strategy. Where does data privacy and security fit in with MiHCM in this area?
I think that's a very timely question, and especially now all the countries, these days talk about, um, Personal Data Protection
Absolutely.
Act. So we take at MiHCM, we take this very serious, in terms of trust, governance, data protection, security. We take it very serious. So as a company, we are compliant with GDPR.
Okay.
And we are compliant with each countries that we're operating at on their PDP acts.
Okay.
Right? And when it comes to, and also we're certified with ISO, IEC 27001, as well as ISO 9001. So with all these, we have taken data protection, the security, the governance very, very serious. So in addition to those, we're right now working on SOC 2 Type 2. And once that is achieved, it will ensure that, we have the complete control over the protection journey that we want to, take.
Okay, thank you. Vindya, I have one last question. How do you see MiHCM Consulting shaping the future of work across South Asia?
That's a great question. As we know, we talk about our opportunity. It's a great opportunity that we have right now before us. So Asia, or especially we focus on South Asia and Southeast Asia. We have a great talent. So one goal is to ensure that we make Asia or the South Asia and Southeast Asia a hub for innovative workforce.
Right.
So with that being said, we will work with organizations to scale with confidence, to operate with AI-enabled intelligence, to build agile workforce models. That is very important. I think when the workforce models become rigid, it's not ready for change. So that's one area that we want to focus on to make data-driven leadership decisions.
Right.
So MiHCM Consulting aims to make future ready HR models. So with our future ready HR models, we want to make sure that they are accessible, they are practical, and they are impactful across South Asia and Southeast Asia. So we're building more than systems.
Okay.
We want to make sure that we become one-stop HR intelligent partner for the organizations that we are going to work with.
Okay. Thank you so much, Vindya, for joining us today for this session, and it was very insightful, and it really goes to show what MiHCM Consulting is doing across the region. Thank you.